Welcome to Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host,
Charlie Seymour.
and I'm Tim Sternberg. And here we are. We're wrapping up some reality show amazingness and talking some talk from the GOAT to Deal or No Deal Island to Survivor. We have a lot to talk about today. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Not too much. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Living a dream. I love this time of year when these finales or close to finales are going on.
Yeah, it's especially the competition ones were real solid this week.
Such good seasons of these shows. Like the endings are we'll start with one that has already kind of completed, and that is, of course, Deal or No Deal. Now we're gonna start this off. We'll kind of go a little bit in order. We'll start at the end of that competition that went into a cliffhanger. What are your thoughts?
They bamboozled us on the edit. That's what I think.
And I don't know if you watched Rob Has a Podcast with Boston Rob. They literally said, he said like it was like he was still at the cases when he heard Amy crossing the finish line. So they just did that to have another episode of Boston Rob.
Yeah, so he crushed her.
He crushed her.
Or she crushed him.
She crushed him. Yeah, she was ahead. Yeah.
So she won by significantly more time than they let on to be.
I think they mentioned it was like at least 10 minutes, I think, of a difference.
Oh, wow. So the interesting thing of that is that makes me feel better over the 3-minute penalty that he probably still would have lost. But you don't know how long he would have got the puzzle quicker because he had to wait 3 minutes for the last person to finish. That was so
it's possible, dude, that she could have gone in before he could have gone in before Jordan, because Jordan was really struggling with that puzzle.
Absolutely right. That's what I'm saying. There was a long gap between finisher 2 and finisher 3.
And on Rob Has a Podcast, he let something slip. I didn't tell you this yet because I wanted to see your reaction on this. Did you watch the podcast?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. So he said Rob asked, by chance, did you have a chance to open up your case to see, because
what it would have been?
Yeah. And he goes, I didn't open it, but I've become friends with Joe Manganiello, the host, and Joe says you would have been good.
So man. Oh man. So he would have been in the final competition.
Yeah. Would you admit, dude, Boston Rob absolutely made the season no matter what?
Like, for sure. And you can see why they did everything they could to stretch out his, even though he was fourth out. Like if it was reversed and someone else was out, they probably would have shown you that person out the week before. But to keep Rob, although at the same time, I don't think too many people would dip for the finale. They got that far, but still, you never know. So
I was bummed. I was bummed. I mean, I know you were too, that he didn't get it. And so
I wanted him to at least have a chance to fight for it.
I wouldn't have dared. Yeah. And so Jordan wins. And if it wasn't Rob, we were rooting for Jordan. Absolutely. Yeah. And so she gets a chance to meet the banker. So
cop out. Such a cop out.
Charlie had a very serious reaction. I had these texts going, stop. So the banker is Howie Mandel. which I said.
So all of the previous seasons were just lies. He's just talking to no one at the other end of the phone. Come on.
So Charlie is having a transcendental, whatever.
They at least got to say the previous banker retired and filling in for him is. Come on.
Charlie was like, Marty McFly went back and forth and did this thing on the old Deal or No Deal. And I know.
I feel like a Tim Robinson sketch right now.
It's like the butterfly effect. I know. I mean, it was very predictable, right? So, I mean, I wanted to ask you this. So we know Howie Mandel's the banker. That was the big secret, right? What do they do next season? They just have Howie Mandel there, or they have a new banker, or
no? Howie's there, but he's like simulcast from New York because he's got to stay far away from people, So he's simulcast. He's at it's like it's like the Peyton and Eli broadcast in the garage or the basement. He's in his own little Howie man cave.
Yeah, if you don't, our listeners, I'm pounding my two fists together because that's what Howie does. Oh man, it was.
I also loved how once you did find out it was Howie. I know I texted you this also,
Yeah,
but Howie could not have been further away from the contestants without being not on set.
he was all the
He
way
was
up in
like
his
way
perch.
up in the tiny corner, like he could not have
Oh,
been further.
but I mean, logistically, that he wasn't coming up with these numbers by himself. He probably had an earpiece, and the producers were like calculating what the offer would be and stuff. And I was surprised, when she didn't take the first over $1 million offer, and then she knocked out that huge case. I was like, oh no. I was like, if this show ended with her winning like a couple of $100, why would anyone want to
The
go on
one
the
cent one was
show?
alive for a while too,
It
wasn't it?
was. Yeah. I think it was even alive when she took
It
the
might have
final
been in the
offer.
final six. Yeah,
Yeah. Jeez.
there were.
Oh, you
You
imagine
had to think she had a bad case,
imagine your
but
whole reality season lies on this game.
yeah, I think that's why also too they probably knew that statistically she probably had a bad case, so the offer was probably a little better than what they normally would have done to make it a good story for the first season.
I would have thought, I don't know about you. I mean, I would have kind of raised the minimums a little bit so that I mean, at least there's a minimum award. And maybe there wasn't a contract.
Especially that deep in the like at the end of the
Yeah.
game. I
To
know what you
have when
mean.
I saw him release the we talked about this a couple of podcasts ago. When I saw the amounts and I saw a penny was up there, I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, you could literally have a player who left the game 3 or 4 people ago with $100,000 win more money than Jordan, who won the game. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. It was strange. Speaking of strange, and here's a transition, about voting in a goat's mouth. And so Amazon Freevee released a brand new reality show called The Goat, and it's the greatest reality TV people to play ever. I'm not sure I understand that terminology necessarily for some of the
I think
contestants.
Tosh himself stated it well. It was of the greatest people that were available at this time.
At this time.
Could film in this window.
So they released the first 3 episodes, and let me tell you, pretty jam packed. With I was expecting, okay, this is going to be I thought this was going to be a kind of version of House of Villains, where okay, these aren't the villains, these are the players. But I think the drama was pretty much up to par with House of Villains.
Especially like the second, late second, early, and then the third one.
Leave it up to a Big Brother contestant to bring the drama. Leave it up, Dave on. Leave it up to a Big Brother contestant.
They're playing the game
And
hard already.
Survivor, Big Brother and Survivor playing the game hard. Uh, who, I don't know what's the Survivor player's name because I don't know him as well as you do.
Wendell.
Wendell. I think Wendell. I don't know if I would have showed all my cards that soon to save them. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if I would have done that so early in a social game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was like a battle of the wits or
Well,
the stubbornness.
in the second one, he was kind of the brains behind the idea of making the fake raft, which in theory worked to
Brilliant.
the other team, but
But
it
got
was
them disqualified.
way too small to have 3 people fit on that thing. I mean, come on.
It was a stack. What was that? Like,
Yeah, like the only way you're getting away with that is if they were going to be very loose with the rules because
yeah,
he specific. This reminds me of the Deal or No Deal Island when he said you can no, there's no cheating, and
no
then
looking.
it showed Rob say, I was only half listening because I was trying to get any advantage I could. Because in this instance, Daniel Tosh clearly said you have to have half of the participants' bodies on the device. And I even think you could make an argument that the winning team probably was pretty borderline that themselves. It was, I mean, that's a hard ask. You know what I mean? You're making
Yeah, it
rafts
is.
out of empty,
Noodles, pool
and
noodles.
those gigantic water jugs, like office cooler
And
ones.
pool water jugs and pool noodles.
Yeah,
That's what they're with
and three
tape.
rolls of duct tape.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with tape. I was like, it's funny. Like the show is funny. Like I'm
I
laughing.
I
There's so
also
many
love Daniel
one-liners.
Tosh.
He's so funny.
I love Daniel
I'm
Tosh. So.
enjoying the show. Like I didn't expect it. I was like, wow, this is pretty good.
And then honestly, the third episode is specifically, so
Good.
it's not really a
Oh,
spoiler, but it's kind of a spoiler if you haven't watched yet. But there are she already orchestrates throwing a challenge.
she
But
did.
my by far my favorite part of the whole first three episodes were when she was done, which if you're as a viewer, I'd like to think that the strong majority feels she did a terrible job acting this way.
Davon.
Devon
Yeah.
acting set the
Everyone knew she
sell
threw it.
of how much he threw it. But then how confident she was that she threw it and no one noticed. And then it
They
cuts
questioned
to
her in a
the
confessional.
producer says, "Wait, do you actually think that worked?" And then it
I
cuts to
love
multiple players talking about how she clearly threw that back to back.
that is editing.
That was
That's
hilarious.
perfection, right? That's
Yeah.
like Survivor a couple of episodes ago when they were at the Applebee's and they had the editing to go in. That's where reality show editors shine. That is perfect. Absolutely. That's what you do. Yeah. You just make it was good. I enjoyed it. I'm when did the next three episodes drop?
It's a Thursday show. I don't know
Oh,
if it's
okay.
gonna be three more again or if it
Oh,
will
okay.
be down to one now. Amazon Prime they do you really don't know. They do different things for all different
Got it.
shows. Sometimes they've dropped the whole season in one day. Sometimes it's one a week, and then this time I think they dropped three right away to let people watch it and get
And I
interested.
dropped the premiere apparently was on YouTube for free
Yeah,
for a
that's what I
while.
heard too,
I
and
didn't
I
watch it.
figured I would just wait for them all to be
Yeah, because I'd be
together.
pissed watching the first episode and then having to wait for the.
I wonder how long before it was available. That would maybe make a difference
I
too.
do know this show was taped March of last year, so it's been in the
It's
can for a while.
it's one a week the rest of the way.
Oh,
Yeah, so
oh,
don't get your hopes
oh.
up. So if you haven't seen it yet, you could wait another couple weeks to get a couple more built up.
Yeah,
But
yeah, definitely. Now we have to. I don't know.
now you
We'll
have
have
to suffer
to. It's
and have to watch a show like you used to once a week.
Speaking of finales, did you catch the Circle finale?
Yes, we watched the circle
Okay,
finale. I'm glad.
so
Yeah, I didn't want to forget about that one. I'm glad you brought it up.
yeah, do you understand? Do you know? You have a guess at what I was upset about that was non-game related?
Um. Ooh, I don't.
I was upset that Michelle wasn't there in person. I was like,
Oh yeah,
what?
yeah.
And then I found out why. It was filmed during the strike and she couldn't be there.
Oh,
So
okay. And then they
all
just
the
voiced
voiceovers were done
over.
in post production. Yeah.
Hmm,
So
that makes
all of,
sense. And then they could keep filming without the people
right. But can
at
you
just the.
imagine that they're literally standing there at the end and I guess a producer's telling them who's in fourth, third, second. Wow.
Wow. Yeah, and then they just voiced her over, which we know is very doable.
Now,
That's interesting. Huh. I didn't know that.
I think, Brandon Olivia played it perfectly. I think the way he focused on the rankings and he was kind of working out that math obviously worked in her advantage because, he won. I'm not surprised. I think him getting breaking up Fuego was a brilliant move and he deserved to win. He played a good game.
I'm see that I remember that was another thing I mentioned to you was in a spot like that where you have total control and no one knows who did
I
it.
would have done the same thing.
If you don't take the shot to win the game, then you're not there to play to win. And I
100%.
said that they better make that play, and they did, and that was the
And I knew
difference.
I was like, oh,
That for sure was the
but
difference
Miles
in
had
it.
to go. I think Miles would have won if Miles had not gone.
And if not, his other biggest competition probably wins because that's a huge vote for him there too. It was a double. It was a double. Honestly, it was really a double shot. He not only weakened his biggest competition, he took out maybe his second biggest competition.
And Jordan didn't have a chance. So, it was just a number for him or Olivia Brandon Catfish. But yeah. I'd like to know. I know the Netflix upfronts were today. I want to look real quick. I'd like to know if they announced the Mole season 2 yet.
Oh, I thought they had already done that.
They have not. And I'm just wondering because I, I am excited for that. I am waiting for it. I love the original Mole very much. Hoping
I can't wait for Squid Game season 2. That's
me
what I can't
too.
wait
Me
for.
too.
And then
Yeah, they have
also they've
not.
had some of their newer ones that were pretty successful, like The Trust and
You got me into that. Like I
Squid
love the
Game the
trust.
Challenge.
I love that.
Both of
Yeah.
them.
Both of them
I'd
are
definitely
great.
go for a season 2 for both
I
of them.
tell you, Netflix is doing right with the reality shows
And then they
by
had the roast of Brady.
oh
And
god, that was so funny.
then sticking in the Netflix and football news, did you hear the big Netflix in the NFL today? They've got
They got a
exclusive
deal.
Christmas Day games.
That's
And
amazing.
did you see the tweet that they had to announce it? It was
No.
pretty good. It said, "You can't spell Netflix without NFL."
Ooh, blah, blah, blah.
Pretty good. Pretty
So
good.
what? Who's the teams that they're going to be carrying?
It's the two Christmas Day games. It's if I don't want to misquote them, but I'm pretty sure it's Texans Steelers is
Okay,
the was the first game, and then I think the second game was Baltimore and I don't want to misquote the
that's
games.
interesting. You know, what are bars going to do? Have to sign up for Netflix because usually, sports bars show football.
Yeah,
Obviously,
a
I
lot
mean,
of
I
them
go
though.
to sports bars.
I feel like a lot of them actually surprisingly are starting to have that as part of
Oh,
it.
they are.
They're getting like TV packages that include
Oh,
it,
okay.
or they're having like an employee log in to one of
That's my
theirs or
favorite place to
something.
watch a football game, honestly. Get a basket of wings and a pitcher of beer and just hang out with your friends and watch football.
Okay, so it's Steelers, Chiefs, and Ravens, Texans. So the Texans
Okay.
and Steelers are playing. They're just in each game.
I don't care about any of those teams. I just want them all to lose. And unfortunately, Steelers and Chiefs probably want the Steelers to win if it's like the current years, you know. Well, we'll see. The
Hey, but
Bills
I
will be
mean,
home on
those are
Christmas
some
Day.
star power games right there.
Yeah. Any game that has the Chiefs, yeah. Yeah. I was surprised the 49ers aren't in the mix.
The 49ers have got a ton of important games. I think
Well,
they're
Thanksgiving,
like
right?
Monday Night Football, the first game of the year, and they're all over the highlighted.
All
Don't
right.
worry,
Well,
they did not get slighted.
it's gonna be a better year, hopefully, for my Bills than it has been for the Mets. Let's put it that way. Oh man, did the Cubs beat? I didn't check. Did the Cubs beat the Braves
They
today?
did. They did win tonight. They won
Yes,
7-1.
yes. I
They
love
needed
that.
it.
Love that. Love that.
I was starting to get some PTSD from when we were there in Atlanta.
Where we were watching the Cubs and the Braves. Yeah.
Braves are
Yeah,
tough,
Charlie and
man.
I watched
Braves
the
are
Cubs in
tough.
the back in October. Charlie and I were watching the Cubs and the Braves at Truist Park. Yeah. It was our first baseball games together, so that was some PTSD. And we had a common enemy, so we were both rooting for the Cubs for different reasons. All right, so reality shows. Let's move on to Survivor. You know what's interesting? And watching the challenge tonight, Survivor with the puzzles, you could see the other players looking at. They would go over and look at
Oh
the other
yeah.
players.
As long as they didn't cross the line on in between each person, which is a
Right,
known rule, and that's what Rob was used to.
right. That's what I was when I saw that. When I saw like Charlie looking over, I was like, oh, oh. So let's talk about records. Usually, records is a good topic, right?
Depends on the record.
What did we scream at the beginning of the last episode? One, two, three. Use your idol.
Pretty sure now you can go back to 4 consecutive episodes of us talking about people maybe you should use your idol if you have it. And for the fourth consecutive time and fifth total in the whole season, someone has gone home with an idol in their pocket.
Bro, Q, come on. He's like, if I feel any kind of way, I'm going to use my idol. He doesn't talk like that. I'm just making a voice. But I have to give it to the other players. They played it
This was the best
so
one. This was the best
close.
one. They couldn't tell her even though he wanted to, and I'm glad he didn't.
You saw Maria during tribal. Maria looks over and she's like shaking her head, and they're shaking. Kenzie shakes her head back, like yes. She totally was blindsided. Like
Yeah.
that's perfect
That's
Survivor.
that's what they needed to do.
Oh my god. I when and when Jeff says anybody would like to use their idol, please do so, and he just sits there and he moves his hand for a minute. I'm like, oh, he's gonna use it, and then he just kind of
And
clenches it, and I'm like,
and to me, this was the one that was most, from his perspective, most inexcusable. You only need
yeah.
one more week after, and it's a 1 in 5. You telling me you're not going to trust yourself to win in 1 in 5 next week? That's your chance right there. You
And you know what?
automatically get to the top 5, and then you've got a
If he
20%
used
chance
it,
to win.
Charlie would have been gone. Charlie would have been gone.
Yeah.
Now I am predicting that Charlie will win the whole thing. I believe that Charlie will win the whole thing. I don't even doubt it. I think either Charlie or Maria, whoever wins the challenge, will win the whole thing. I don't think Liz has a chance. I don't think Kenzie has a chance. I don't think Ben has a chance. I think it's going to be either Charlie or Maria, and depending on how the power kind of shifts.
At this point, I think that Ben is going to be who, honestly,
He's
this
going to be
might
final two,
this is
final
exactly
three
what I was going to say was I wouldn't even probably had thought this weeks ago, but at this point, he might be the one you want. Whoever wins the final
next to
4,
you.
he's the one that you just take along because he's done nothing and
Nothing.
he's been weak and
You know what's
yeah.
interesting? We said the first episode that we talked about Survivor this season, it's going to be Ben and Charlie. Like
So maybe
musical.
there, and that would come full circle to what you were talking about. And if Charlie wins, he would pick Ben and would lock it up. So
I think so.
it
I
could
think
happen as early as 10 minutes into the next episode.
look at the editing this season. The first couple of episodes is all about like Ben and Charlie bonding over their musical likes, like Charlie with his Taylor Swift and Ben with Metallica and whatnot. That was they kind of built that into the editing. And if you're keen enough in watching Survivor, and mind you, thanks to you, I started watching the season again. I haven't watched Survivor in years, but it's still the same kind of thing. You can kind of pick up, like today, they edited the episode to make it look like, I mean, I could tell Q was going. Like, I had a good feeling about it, the way that it kind of rolled out. He got really cocky. He was like, and same, Venus was cocky like that too last week. And that same cockiness that was edited in, and then it gives the viewers a chance to go,
See,
gotcha, or
that's where he could have acted that, portrayed that all week, and then bam, played his idol, and then it's a great move.
absolutely. And then Charlie is, and when Charlie says that comment in Tribal, it could be me. I could go Zap. And then they look at each other, and I'm like, yeah, you could be you. And then he doesn't play the idol. Why? I'm telling you straight up, if I'm at final five, final six, I'm using that idol. Like,
You
what
it
is going on?
to not play it there just shows lack of
You
confidence in yourself to win anything.
you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You can't
At that
trust
moment,
anybody.
his only thought is, I need automatic survival next week. Like, no, it's one game, one step, one at a time. You gotta, it's like March Madness. You gotta survive in advance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't trust that that other people are going to take you. You kind of have to go. You have to trust yourself like you said, and trust your own instincts and own abilities to win the game and use the idol. What? Like I'm
Yeah,
baffled. Like how many this is season 46 of Survivor?
46.
Survivor's
Yeah,
been on for Survivor's been on TV for 25 years. It started in 2000. Like people don't know by now. I mean that's a like
yeah,
101.
yeah,
Let's talk briefly real quick before we end this Survivor 50 is going to be very interesting, and the reason why I say that is cuz Jeff announced that like way in advance. They haven't even taped 48 and 49 yet. Like they're going to tape those now. I wonder how that's going to impact now, mind you, they probably won't know until close to the show taping, but how that impacts people now kind of talking with each other about forming alliances. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I know. And does that mean that they already pretty much have 48 and 49 casted, just not filmed yet?
Yeah, yeah. So they're actually in Fiji right now filming 48
And
and
they film them back
49
to back,
right back
right?
to back. Yeah. So 48 will air in the fall, and so 50 isn't going to air until the fall of 2025.
Yeah.
Right, so they'll tape that next year, or maybe they'll even tape it in November, who knows, like, but yeah, 48 is being filmed as we speak, well, or close to as we speak. They usually do film back in the olden days, what they in olden days when they used to have 36 days, they would film one season in May and they would film it the next season in November, and that's kind of how they did it. And then
And they would
so
move locations a lot more frequently.
actually, it wasn't even May. I think it was August. They would film, or sometime in the summer. Yeah, and they would move locations, like, Survivor Indonesia, Survivor. That was exciting. I mean, it was exciting until you realized that every place was the same tropical place with a beach, and there wasn't as much enough cultural kind of integration as you wanted, and it kind of became the same. So they just, I guess, figured after a while, let's just do it all in Fiji. And Fiji is beautiful, but I still to this day would love to see a cold version of Survivor. And you
Like
heard, I don't know
like
if you heard,
like like in Siberia in like the winter.
yeah, like it freeze, but it's not as sexy, I guess, to have a cold people bundled up and whatever. I don't think it's sexy to have people in dirty underwear walking around a beach either. So take it for what it is. Um, you heard, you texted me this that Australian Survivor is going to have a season where they're going up against Americans.
Yes.
So I have to now watch Australian Survivor to know who these folks are.
Nah, it's kind of like one of those seasons of the challenge where they bring in some of the people from the other ones. They're just new people to know. You don't have to go out of your way
That's what
to
people are
know all
like.
the players pregame.
So,
But speaking of older Survivor, so you hadn't watched in a while. So this finale will be the first time probably in a while that you've seen like this type of format
yeah, I
because
have never seen this format.
yeah, so this will be I'll be interested to hear your take how it
Yeah.
looks for a first time, because the last handful of seasons have been similar where I know we mentioned this before, but you weren't even aware that third and fourth have a fire off now officially, no matter what. Used to only be,
In
only if
case of a tie.
in case of tie, exactly.
Yeah, I heard so bad. What I remember of the finale is it would get down to the final four. They would have a challenge, and then it would become the final three, and then they would vote on the final
Yeah.
three. And in the old days, in the first several seasons, it used to go just to the final two, and then
Mm-hmm.
you would have the final three makes it more interesting because when you have the final two, they're both guaranteed to win money because second place gets, I think it still gets $100,000, right?
I don't know about that, but you could be
Oh,
right.
or 50,000. I'm not sure. No, 50,000 is Big Brother. 100,000 Survivor. But either way, they both, they kind of get money. So I think three kind of makes the voting more interesting, if that makes sense. Yeah, we'll see. That next week is, and we'll film this after the finale, and yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, you're right. Second place does get $100,000.
100,000. Interesting.
I also think that the new age, there's so much more strategy involved in like how we mentioned just a few moments ago. Ben being one of the weaker players right now, almost all of them will probably pick Ben as the person next to him, number two. So there's more strategy involved to trying to get one of the better players to have to do a fire off with another better player. So it's
I
interesting
agree.
because here's something for you that in one of the seasons, so this happens often. Okay, you have the person who wins has some control, but also someone who's in third or fourth, it by being forced to then win fire, it's also something being added to your resume. So there's a lot of
Oh,
interesting strategy there. And one of the seasons, the person who won picked two people to sit, chose himself to do fire so he could eliminate his biggest competition because he didn't think the other two people could beat him in fire. It was one of the most brilliant things ever.
did he
He
win?
then not yeah, he beats the guy in fire and then wins. It
Ooh, that's
was
a ballsy move.
it was awesome. That's one of the
Wow,
ones that you
that's
should
huge respect. I would. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
writing your
because
name down to win.
there's a lot of strategy in that. So like,
Wow.
because if you're neck and neck with someone and you then win, but give them the chance to for fire, all of a sudden, hey, that's another tick on their resume.
That's the old game. That's gamesmanship 101. Like
Yeah.
that's you respect, like respect the game, respect the player, respect the game. I mean, oftentimes, sometimes these games, these competitions go down emotionally, right? People are hurt, especially on Big Brother, as we know, which is coming, by the way, July 17th, I think.
Yeah,
Julie
July
said
18th, 17th in
18th,
there.
17th. Yeah. That I think Big Brother more so than Survivor is a more emotionally driven game. I guess because of the amount of time and they're in the house and all that stuff. And at least on
But you
Survivor you
also
can walk away.
but you also have people a lot hangrier on Survivor.
Yeah,
So they
yes,
also could have some of those
yes.
reactions.
Well, you
So
think Applebee's? So, by the way, Q posted a tweet today or whatever they call it.
yeah, it was
So
amazing.
he goes,
Because I
they're
didn't send
closing
one person
Applebee's.
there, they're closing like 87 Applebee's or something. That was pretty funny.
I laughed.
He needed to get that laugh out, knowing he was about to be eliminated.
Yeah, when I saw that, I laughed out loud. That was fun. That was good.
For
That
sure.
was good. Yeah, that was good. That was witty. I love it. All right, buddy. We have an interesting week coming up. I can't wait for the finale of Survivor. We'll see how that goes. And I will check out the next episode of The GOAT. Painfully
Definitely.
watching only one episode, but I will do it for this game, for this podcast, for our audience. And yeah, I'm excited. And next week we'll do an unbox. I'll have another unboxing for you next week.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that because I was I knew you were going. I don't know why, but I felt like me getting Marty McFly was just too easy. So
That was a classic moment. You saw I put that on
yeah,
Instagram. That was like, you go, no way, I got it in the first time. Yeah, yeah, dude. That was awesome. Come on, I give you props. You know me. I appreciate that. That was good. I'm not gonna make the next one so easy. That's all I'll say.
good. That's exactly what I was going for. You know,
I know.
it was like
But
spring training. Now we're in the regular season.
yeah, but it was good. It was good. You deserve that. You deserve that kudos. That was good. All right, this has been Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast. I'm Tim Sternberg with my buddy.
Charlie Seymour.
And we'll see you next week. Until then, have an awesome week, everybody. Bye.